the second chapter of Surfin will redefine ourselves be truly AI native or AI agent native company that we can go anywhere to equip our institution, equip our government, to equip our regulatory bodies to be better equipped with AI agent technology. And also, I think Surfin has the benefit to be able to develop vertical models and country models for financial service. Now the general model, LLM, are all owned by the mega companies. But I think for the startup or for the growth companies, for any financial service companies, fintech companies, it's all about how to find a niche market or vertical consumer segment to have a vertical model.
Hi, folks. Welcome back to On Call with Insignia. We go on call with leaders innovating the future of Southeast Asia's internet and digital economy, or as we like to call it, ASEAN Innovation. I'm your host, Paulo Joquino. And we're back with a returning guest. So I've had him on the show, I think, 3 times already. This is the 4th time. I think first time when we first partnered with their company back in 2024, and then 2025, a few months later, just as they raised the Series A extension, where we also had England on that episode, as well as one of their board members, Michael Spence, who's a Nobel laureate. And we did it live actually in Manila during one of their fintech summits. And then the 3rd time was in Singapore when we did like a International Day feature for NYSE, which Yanan also attended the last year in October. So I think we've had calls across, I think, 3 cities already. And then unfortunately, we're not able to do it live, but I'm still happy that I'm able to catch Yanan amidst his busy schedule and really catch up. I think it's been a few months, but as when it comes to companies like Surfin, there's a lot of milestones and a lot of new things to talk about, right? So we'd love to catch up with Surfin and what has happened since. So for those who are hearing about Surfin for the first time, just a brief introduction. A fintech company headquartered out of Singapore, but serving over, I think, like 10 markets, I think now maybe 12 markets, and has over 100 million users and customers across these different markets, really focused on consumer finance, agentic AI-driven financial products. Apart from consumer finance also, and we'll talk about this later in the episode, B2B partnerships as well with digital banks, financial institutions, even government institutions as well, to really drive digital adoption and digital transformation, especially when it comes to financial services. If I were to condense it in a few words, really credit inclusion and agentic inclusion, as Yanan would say. Yeah, happy to have you back on the show, Yanan. Maybe you can start us off with what has Surfin been up to in the last few months since we had that conversation in Singapore. I think it was September or October last year.
Yeah, thanks, Paulo. Very nice to come back to your podcast. And since our podcast in Singapore and later on in Manila, we had a really still fast movement in terms of business. And as you know, as you just described, I'm always on the road. The Surfing continue to do this financial inclusion for more geographic coverage and also more financial agentic application in different areas. Because the theme of this year so far, since we talked last year, is about agentic, financial agentic. So that's why that you just mentioned about agentic inclusion, that I try to token coin this term for another AI besides artificial intelligence, but we are entering agentic inclusion era. So that's what Surfing has devoted ourselves. Because as you know, we've been specialized in data analytics, data aggregation, and eventually data monetization to provide a variety of financial service, especially through agentic experience to our young consumers in 12 countries so far. So since our matter, so I'm still on the road. I've been to Ulaanbaatar, Dhaka from Bangladesh, and also Tokyo, and Almaty, Tashkent, Central Asia, and we're also going to celebrate that we're going to launch our Japanese operation soon by the end of this month. We're going to have an office, have our official ceremony besides our board meeting at the end of June in Tokyo, together with Stock Exchange. Thanks to Insignia support, we were selected by GSE as an Asia Startup Program. So that part has gone very well, that we are more and more fit into the Japanese financial ecosystem, and also provide hopefully agentic inclusion service in Japan for young migrants. In Japan, as a society become more aging and more migrants from other countries, young migrants working in this part of the country. So that's why we are opening up our business in Japan and export our technology to Japanese young migrants as well, together with other Japanese financial institutions. And also in Davos, as you reviewed last time, that we already have a sign up with MOU with Philippine Social Security System to provide OAWs from Philippine young migrants cross-border from Philippines to provide digital credit loan service and digital credit scoring technology for Philippine Social Security System. That's why we sponsor Philippine Pavilion in Davos and World Economic Forum. Yeah, so lots of things happening. We're really excited. It's a new wave coming, if you will, in 2006. Given the 3 upcoming IPO in the market, super giant IPOs, that's really, I think that's symbolic, right? In these 3 IPOs about Agentic, it's about robotics, it's about space exploration. So that's really, I think, the future, the next decade, the theme, major theme,
Thanks for that update. And you outlined also the kind of topics that we'll discuss in this episode. I think 3 things. 1 is Japan. 2 is like the partnerships you mentioned, the SSS in the Philippines. And then 3rd, also, I guess the tailwinds, right? You talked about the 3 big IPOs and what they represent and implications for even for Surfin's industry as well. But first with Japan, right? I think for us, even in Insignia, Japan is probably the top destination market outside of Southeast Asia for a lot of our portfolio companies. And you did mention the Tokyo Stock Exchange, Asia Startup Hub that we've been partnered with and have been able to introduce several of our portfolio companies, including Surfin, and really happy to know that that introduction has blossomed into an actual market expansion, right? By the time you guys are hearing this or watching this podcast, Surfin would have already or is currently having their launch event and also their board meeting and summit, their very first one in Japan. Really excited for that as we call a few weeks away. But maybe you can dig a little bit deeper. I was interested that you mentioned about this whole migrant kind of opportunity. Would love to learn more about that particular segment and how you've seen it work across a lot of different emerging markets as well. And what is interesting about Japan, the Japan opportunity in particular for Surfin?
So really, once again, we want to appreciate this opportunity by Insignia's recommendation, and we were part of the TSE, this major initiative for more Southeast Asian companies potentially listed in Japanese capital market. And I think the reason that we're really interested in Japan, because as we have been focused on emerging markets, developing countries, for underserved young population in 12 emerging markets. So Japan is really the first country, if you develop countries, that we hope use technology to empower and also to serve those otherwise ignored minority in the society. The long tail customer, again, in any country, whether it's developing country or developed country, they're still underserved. So I think that's another second curve that Surfin want to demonstrate ourselves, that besides retail customers, financial inclusion service through digital AI technology, through big data modeling, through agentic customer experience, but also we can supply fintech as a service fast to use our technology more matured and stress tested in the last 8 years. And I have to say, we also just came back from Bali last 2 weeks ago to celebrate 9th anniversary of Surfin. As the name of Surfin come from, it's really our birthplace of this small vision. A small seed is from Bali Island. So we celebrate together with our senior management team 9th anniversary to remind ourselves where we start, how we start, and where we're heading. So so really, I think that now we hopefully after 9 years, we use our own bootstrapping journey, using our own model and system to stress test across so many regions. Now 100 million customers, as you mentioned in the podcast, it's really 12 countries, 100 million customers throughout different cycles about different countries' user behavior. So now we're more confident. Our models and system are more tailored to young consumers who don't know how to price their credit risk based on social behavior data, that we are able to, for the first time, to within 1 minute, we can provide a credit score. Within 2 minutes, we can disperse a micro loan to these young customers, which otherwise there's no other financial alternatives. So I think this kind of mature technology has been stress tested for 100 million young consumers throughout different cycles. Now we hope become a part of a service provider to banks and also to government. That's why I mentioned about Philippine Social Security System. That's the first initiative we fintech a service to the government agency who can also provide financial inclusion service to their own citizens. So for Japan, we're really interested that Japan is a really well-developed financial system. So many super big banks, and they will cover their own financial system, and also they go global as well. But I think it's still becoming a reality. The young population in Japan are still not well served in Japan by the traditional financial system, especially the young foreigners, young migrants. They work in hotel, they work in service industry, they work in restaurant, they work in construction field. It's hard for them to open a bank, and it's even harder to get credit access. So that's, once again, I think the two pain points we want to address throughout the past 8 years. The first pain point is the credit access. Provide young consumer as a credit journey to start with. Like I mentioned in our previous podcast, that I believe fundamentally credit score is anyone's human right. It's a financial dignity for anyone to start a financial journey. So that's why we want to address, always want to address the first thing on the credit access. You provide any young consumers, including young migrants in Japan, have a credit score, have a credit access. And second thing more about cross-border money transfer, because as migrants move around, especially you live in the Philippines, can appreciate how much migrants move around cross-border. So money transfer is really the second pain point, how to provide the lower frictional cost and the much faster, smarter money transfer service, remittance service is also very critical to this part of the community. Philippines 100% GDP contribute by our W. So that's why I think it's very fundamental to the national GDP as well. And for Japan, there's so many more and more young migrants as the society become more aging, so they need more service workers from other countries. So I think that's the second pain point, remittance and service, money transfer service for our young migrants working in Japan to their home country, whether it's the Philippines, whether it's Indonesia, or India, or other countries. So those are the two major fintech services that we want to provide to our banks, to our financial institutions in Japan. We use our technology to empower them, to help them to penetrate, to serve these young migrants.
And I think for Surfin, even though Japan, as you mentioned, is the first kind of developed market that the company is entering, but it's still in keeping, it's still aligned with the vision that you mentioned earlier and congratulations on 9 years, by the way, of really serving the underserved. And I think even, as you mentioned, in developed markets, there's always a long tail kind of opportunity to serve, right? But at the same time, you're finding new modalities to be able to serve these customers, not just direct kind of product and services, but really through, as you mentioned, fintech as a service. So working with institutions and banks, and you're not necessarily doing it for the first time in Japan because you already did it in the Philippines, as you mentioned. You're doing it in other markets. I think you've seen a couple of press releases in other markets covering that. It's definitely not out of the blue, right? I think it's in keeping with the overall mission and vision. And it could potentially, I think, set up a playbook for Surfin to expand to other developed markets as well, where there's that long tail opportunity, right? Is that kind of like the long-term plan to eventually explore more developed markets?
Yeah, Paulo. Yeah, so I think we shared this before. So I truly believe technology can be scalable, right? Technology has no border, right? That's why I summarize our agentic financial service or agentic inclusion in the future, like ABCD. Asset list, A, that's so anyone who has no asset can still enjoy financial service. In the past, banks only serve those who have financial assets. So I think any young consumer without assets yet, they still can access financial service. That's as A. B, borderless. With AI technology, people will look for jobs and do cross-border consumption anywhere. So borderless, it should be the U-term for the financial service. They can access financial service from anywhere, borderless. Third is that anyone can have a contactless. And in the future is more conversational financial service rather than input keyboard, but more dialogue, conversation, like an agent service or contactless. D is divisionless. There's no age difference. There's no ethnical background. There's no rich and poor difference. Anyone can enjoy anytime, 7 days, 24 hours. There's no division. So ABCD. So that's what I believe technology can not only apply to developing market, but also apply to other countries like Japan, because people move around, right? And also people younger consumer, they want to enjoy instant financial service right within their living circumstances. So that's the beauty of agentic financial experience. So that's why I think in Japan, we can see one of the projects we involved is like 7-Eleven. Right? There's so many convenience stores. That's where the cash transactions still happening in those convenience stores, ATMs from Seven Bank, for example. In the past, people say use ATM for cash transaction, but now ATM does no for use for cash transaction. But it's still young migrants. Still, they don't have no bank account. They still use it. So how do you reinvent ATM to become a contact point for young migrants to get a credit score, get a digital right at a convenience store where they consume? That's the technology we want to help our Japanese bank or Japanese convenience store to have this digital young consumer loan service right within their community, right at the consumption point. We also engage with one of the credit card issuer, large credit card issuer in Japan. But the credit card still a cross-border major instrument. So credit card can help the young consumer mobile to anywhere, right? So that's why we also help one of the larger credit card issuer to use our credit scoring technology based on social behavior data, based on alternative data to issue a credit card. We already issue our own Surfin visa already globally. So this is another initiative to have consumers to bring everyone deserve a credit card wherever they go using alternative data. That's the technology application.
What I appreciate about what you mentioned is that you're, as much as you're really advancing the way that people interact with financial services through agentic inclusion, as you mentioned, but you're still thinking about where are they actually doing the transactions, right? Whether it's like a retail outlet or convenience stores, for example, going to where the customers are, so to speak. And as you expand to more markets and as you expand across more financial services, as you mentioned, from credit cards to cross-border payments, as you've talked about, how does Surfin look to maintain its differentiation and overall identity in an increasingly competitive, I would say, fintech like landscape, right? Or even like company landscape as well. And how does the B2B angle or FaaS or fintech as a service kind of help with that kind of differentiation and identity?
I think Surfin has developed in the past 8 years through our own in-house proprietary technology, have developed certain barrier, if you will, differentiate competitive capability. One is about this efficiency, that we are able to provide a very efficient unit economics in financial product, so that not only this customer can enjoy instant approval, credit score, and digital loans access, but also for institution, very efficient unit economics to be able to provide sustainable and also very sticky financial product for young consumers, so that the young consumer come back and back again, not just one-time financial experience, but multiple financial throughout a lifetime cycle. So it's all about how build a sustainable unit economics, as we shared in our broadcast. And also I appreciate Insignia has such a case study on Surfin to demonstrate how efficient our unit economics. That's why one's delinquency for credit risk pricing. Secondly is about how to provide a cheaper and sustainable user acquisition journey versus lifetime value. So that's a kind of a balance unit economics. Secondly is about scalability, right? So that's why I think Surfin has demonstrated in the past compared to our peers who normally focus on one country, one region, but we're all multiple countries, multiple regions, because it's all about data understanding, data analysis, and also data monetization. So that's why we use multiple country user behavior data and different cycles data to stress test our model system, so that our model system are more sustainable and more resilient, if you will, across different countries, across different cycles. So that's also, I would say, a competitive advantage we have built in the past, a kind of barrier that we can go to not only Asia, Latin, Africa, now 12 countries. So really, we're more confident technology now have been stress tested so far can provide to financial institutions as well, so that they mature technology can help them to serve young consumers. And thirdly, key term is about an AI agent, right? So that's why we are still at the beginning, how to transform financial service using more agentic experience, like I said, more about conversational, more about customer demand, what kind of product, and rather than we deliver product to the customers, embedded in the daily life, what kind of financial service product they should demand. They deserve an agent wherever they are to help supply product. So that's just the beginning. And we fortunate Surfin has 100 million young customers around the world, and young 100 million customers data, right? To understand their social behavior, financial behavior, consumer behavior, and also their voice data, so that in the future, it's about agent talk to the customer. It's about conversational in different local language. So that's also, I think, another competitive advantage that Surfin has built up in the past, that we own the customer base. We also can train the new AI agent experience based on those data, or whether it's behavior data or voice data.
So I think just to summarize, economics, data, and agents. I'm curious with the agents, having worked with a couple of organizations and institutions by this point, what's the biggest pain point for them in terms of adopting this agentic technology, right? And obviously, how does Surfin help with that pain point in particular?
Yeah. So I think every institution now want to want to embrace the AI agent experience. I think this is the wave that's inevitable that every financial service has to use AI agent. So I think now we already have a voice bot in our customer service and also collection service. So that's the beginning that we can use chatbot, robot agent, customer representative robot agent, collection robot agent, so that financial institution can improve their efficiency. That's why we now have started 2 bank projects. They also want to use this voice bot to serve their young farmers, young migrants, young consumers. So I think this can increase not only the user experience, the customer experience, but also the efficiency of financial institutions, so that they can serve long tail, more scalable young migrants communities. Otherwise, it's hard to use traditional human agents to be more scalable.
Right.
That's why the AI agent not only benefit the customer, but also benefit the financial institution in terms of efficiency. So that's why Surfing able to serve 100 million young customers. So that's just step 1. Step 2 is all about how we can reinvent the product. The product, like I mentioned, is everyone deserves a different product, a unique product at different times in the lifetime cycle and wherever they are. And so that's really a different product engineering from the traditional banking experience. It's in the future, it's all about customer want to demand or design what kind of product. It's whether they talk to an agent, they conversation with financial agent. So that's why I think for traditional financial to embrace such a AI agent, it has to do a lot of work. In the future, it's all how to have a contactless point with the new type of customer through the robot agent. So that's what would help the financial institution to equip this type of AI agent type of technology, and also to help them to provide this AI agent experience for their customers.
So I think two kind of ways that you help, obviously improving the economics efficiency of their existing the user experience, but also potentially introducing new products, new services through this technology as well. So is it correct to say that you're not really, you can essentially help any type of bank or institution, or is there a certain type of like organization, a level of preparedness for Surfin to be more effective in terms of helping out and helping them with this agentic transformation?
So after 9 years, we reflected in Bali, right, to also do in this strategy retreat. So my senior executive staff, first 9 years, we serve retail customers using a very scalable technology. What's the next 9 years? The next 9 years have 2 waves. One is AI agent. We want to embrace this new wave. Second wave is about fintech as a service, how to help governments, how to help institutions, sometimes even help the regulators use this AI agent technology well. So I hope the second chapter of Surfin will redefine ourselves be truly AI native or AI agent native company. So we're more like a technology company that we can go anywhere to equip our institution, equip our government, to equip our regulatory bodies to be better equipped with AI agent technology. They are using our mature technology that serve the retail customer. So I think in the future, technology for business institutions, for government agents will become the new norm. And also, I think Surfing, as you just asked about that competitive advantage question, I think Surfing has the benefit to be able to develop vertical models and country models for financial service. Because now the general model, LLM, or the big model, all owned by the big companies, the mega companies. But I think for the startup or for the growth companies, for any financial service companies, fintech companies, it's all about how to find a niche market or vertical consumer segment, have a vertical model. And for financial service, different verticals, whether it's lending, whether it's remittance, whether it's wealth management, whether it's for other trading and investment, it's about vertical models that become differentiated. And also country model. Each country are unique, right? Each country has a different economic cycle. So you have stress test of data from different countries so that you can develop the country model. So I think we hope Surfin, the second chapter, will become the leader in some unique vertical models in very different financial service, and also country models for some countries that we can become enabler, empowered to export this kind of vertical model, country model to institutions and to government agencies as well. So
Yeah,
that's, I think, what we feel exciting. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm excited just hearing about it. And I think that really positions Surfin as a fintech as a service model leader as well, right? To be able to develop, as you mentioned, these vertical models, specific products or specific markets, specific countries. And to wrap up our conversation, you mentioned at the top of your first response around the tailwinds with a lot of these LLM AI labs potentially going public. And then you also have companies like SpaceX as well. How is that impacting the way that you're able to expand now and maybe even have these conversations with banks and institutions all over the world? Like, how is this tailwind helping Surfin's next 9 years, as you mentioned?
Yeah, thanks, Paula. So I think Surfin also at this stage also need more partners, long-term strategic partners that institution can also help Surfin to build an ecosystem, because we are experts in data modeling, data analysis, data technology based on social behavior, alternative data, and we're also expert or differentiator in aging experience in emerging market. So hopefully we can build a structured partnership with institutions who are interested in emerging market, who are expand the global market to build a borderless, more scalable financial service. So we can be part of that equal partner together. And secondly, how we can use more data to develop AI agent experience for different verticals, consumers, different consumer profiles that use our own vertical model for lending, for remittance, for wealth management, for payment. So that's, I think we hope we can need more financial institutions to join Surfin, more consumer-related enterprise can join Surfin, because they have the demand for different financial service. They can access different consumer profile. So that's why I think we hope we can transform our Surfin financial products also to help a different consumer profile, not only unsecured maybe lending product, but also some other secured lending product, and also remittance, cross-border remittance, combined with stablecoin, combined with other new type of instruments, so that it can enjoy much better, much smarter money transfer experience as well.
Yeah. So I guess just to reiterate the point, Surfin is not really specific to any type of product, right, or type of market, so to speak. And it's at its core, it's really an AI native company, right? And that allows you guys to really build different types of infrastructure, right? So if I were to amend my earlier introduction, really in a few words, Surfin is an AI for fintech infrastructure kind of company, right? More than anything else. So yeah, thank you so much, Yanan, for joining us on call. It was a great catch up, and thank you for making the time. Looking forward to as we launch this episode, you have already launched in Japan. Maybe in the next few months we can have another catch up and see how the Japan market is doing, and maybe other new markets that you guys might be in. Yeah. So looking forward to that. Maybe you can do it in person again next time, maybe in Tokyo or somewhere. Yeah.
And let's have another product or another meeting in other countries.
Yeah. Always a pleasure to have you there.
Yeah, I hope your podcast go anywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
Together.
Yeah, just like Surfin. All right. Thank you so much, Yanan. Have a good one.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay.